Yeah, before I start on this stave, I thought I'd better show you the game plan. So this limb is much nicer. So what I'll be doing is reducing the sapwood, sort of something like this. You get the general idea. Anyway, tidy up the sapwood. But this limb is a totally different kettle of fish. It's a right old mess. You can see that the heartwood is pretty narrow in places, and the sapwood is not clearly defined everywhere. And if we look at the end of the stave, that gives us the best idea. You can see it was from a much narrower diameter log, branch or whatever the hell it was. So what I need to do is maybe reduce the sapwood a bit, but of course if I go across like that, the sapwood looks very thick here. It looks like it's all sapwood until the bow's narrowed. So I'm going to have to be very careful sort of working the width of this, and also make sure I don't assume there's too much sapwood because I'm looking at the side. So I'll have to be a lot more careful on this limb. Actually this side's not quite so bad. It just gets a bit dodgy here. It's this side that's a right mess. Yeah, I've just got the drawer knife out, started working on this. It's just nice to be working on some wood again. But this is good because it shows you've got these sort of darker streaks. And you think, oh my god, am I going down to the heartwood? No, well, it's this funny sort of effect where you've got heartwood, sapwood, heartwood, sapwood. So you get streaks of darker stuff within the sapwood. And there's no need to panic. I mean, well, you can't argue with the wood anyway. But you can see here I've gone down through this little dark streak back to the clear sapwood. And I've got plenty of sapwood there still. I'm just trying to reduce it to a sort of vaguely even layer, but it's nice to be doing some work again. I can feel the muscles in my back just rippling and sort of not actually objecting, but just saying, ooh, we haven't done this for a while, which is nice. So I'm feeling much more chilled out and feel a lot less coldy today as well. I think I had a good night's kip. It's been a bit warmer, a nice warm day yesterday, and I think I've just sort of shaken off the last dregs of cold. Just fiddling around with some bark here, you can see it's just popping off. I probably won't reduce it much there. Just try and get it, I just did that pencil line in a hurry just to sort of illustrate. But it's going to be one of those slow and steady, just nibble away at it when I feel like it. Bows. See, this bit here is a little bit weird. It's a bit of a dip. An interesting thing is you look at an illustration in a book and a cross section of a tree is perfectly round with a perfectly round bit of heartwood in the middle and everything's all nice and lovely, but it's not like that. I mean, the heartwood doesn't always follow the grain line at all. In fact, you can see it just there. I think the line where it goes from heart to sap doesn't actually follow that line of growth. That's not a particularly good example, but yeah, I've got some weird stuff going on here. It's a very narrow point of heartwood, but if I just turn the bow over there, what am I on about? There's plenty of heartwood, isn't there? So you can see, you know, how much the situation can change just across the inch or so width of the piece of wood. And I've not got a lot of width to play with, so this will be a tease the bow down slowly sort of bow. And this is the good limb. I mean, this is the pretty limb. You look down there at the other one and it's who knows. Anyway, I'll keep nibbling along and I'll post the odd video, and it's a bit of fun. It was only two scruffy old limbs, scruffy old billets from when I sorted out my stash that were just about too good to throw away. But that's the challenge. I wouldn't want to be making bows out of them. Perfect sawn out slats of timber all day. So I've got quite a lot of excess thickness here compared with there. It dips in where the splice was there. So you can see the width. That shows up here. Width at the splice there is a lot less than the width here. So that will need sort of sorting it. Oh, a bit of a knot and a split here as well. So like I always say, the amount of time you spend removing wood is not actually that much. It's the time you take thinking about it and studying it and deciding where you're going to remove the wood. So that's the old beginner's mistake of rushing in like a loony instead of doing a bit and looking at it. Doing a bit and looking at it. Anyhow, that'll do for now. I'm blethering rather. Yeah, just doing a bit more. I found it was tearing, splitting out here, so I reversed the bow on the tiller and tidied it up, cutting this way. You know, you have to be aware of how your tool's working. If it's starting to dig in deep and you think it might split out a big chunk, stop and turn the wood round or use a rasp. Just here it's interesting, I've got a lot of thick heartwood, and cutting in here it was tearing a little bit and there was a little bit of a split, but as I dug down I exposed, that's the pith, that was the centre of the tree. So and I've got so much wood there, that'll come out cleanly, so that's not a problem. But I can just, you know, I can start being sympathetic to the flow of the grain, see what's going on a bit. And there it shows again, see it's there and it pops up here, that's the centre of the tree. So that's mostly the good limb I've been fiddling around with. You know, I already see it's just beginning to look a bit more the shape of a bow limb. Yeah, it's got that interesting feature just down there. Yeah, little and often, slow and steady. Hare and tortoise, dog and duck. Looking at the dodgy limb, there's a narrow point just here, and that's going to be the limiting factor. You can see we've got the sapwood showing there. So what I'll do is I'll probably work that with a rasp, because with the draw knife it was digging in and tearing here. But one thing to do is actually measure it, because although it looks narrow now, that's only compared with the rest of the stave. Yeah, that's about the narrowest point there. No, so we're over an inch, a little over an inch. We're nearly 30 mil. So actually we're not too bad there at all, but I don't want to reduce it. If I reduced it to just the heartwood width, say like that, would be down to about like 23 millimeters, which would be getting a bit skinny. So you can see it's marginal, but by the time it's finished and rounded off and what have you, hopefully we'll be seeing heartwood there on the sign. But if we're not, I mean, we just call it character and carry on. Yeah, it's difficult sometimes when a stave's at an early stage. You can think you haven't got enough wood, whereas in fact you have. So if we move just the other side of the grip and measure it there, 36 millimeters, which is tons. I think we're going to be all right. I mean, if it ends up being, you know, £50, whatever, we'll see. A bit more work tidying up this narrower limb. Still looking very odd this side, but beginning to look a bit more promising this side. And where the fatter limb swelled out, that side of the grip, I've taken quite a bit off, and this is nice. It's exposed this knot, which will disappear shortly when I take a little bit more wood off. So that's going to go. Also, the pith from the centre of the log is there, that will be disappearing. You can still see we've got a bit to remove here to get it down to the width of the splice. But yeah, it's beginning to move along. That narrow point sticks out like a sore thumb. But hopefully, like I said, hopefully we'll be alright. Don't do too much. I mean, the actual time I've spent removing wood, probably barely even 15 minutes. That's all the wood I've taken off. Not a vast amount. It's not how much you take it off, it's where you take it off. One of Uncle Del's 3 marvellous bon mots. Witty sayings for bowyers. Available in a bookstore near you for Christmas. Christmas.